Hey guys, Chairman here, back with not a deck profile this time. This is going to be a combo video featuring this lovely Tokyo Revengers Dual Laner deck featuring the Baji, Mikey, and Mitsuya combo. If you're looking for a deck profile, that's on the Tresses Collectibles channel. Be sure to go and check out the deck profile there. This video is going to be more focused on the combos that you can do with all these cards, the different things you can do starting from level 0 to level 3. So if you want to kind of learn the ins and outs of the deck, this is the right video for you. So let's get right to it. Game plan wise, for this deck, we want to aim for a back row that looks something like this. So we want one copy of the Mitsuya in the back row, and then either the Mitsuya bodyguard squad or the special person Emma, depending on the matchup. So against decks that have a lot of on reverse effects, we want the Mitsuya. Otherwise, we want the Emma because the brainstorm effect is really good. Also, whenever we put the climax, we get the Emma's first effect. At level 1, generally speaking, I'll start off with a turn of Chifuyu Baji, 1-in-1. This is easier to get early game, just to get one copy of each, and this allows us to get to a full hand size while also starting to build stock. After the first turn of this, usually speaking, I will switch over to double Chifuyu to just start ramping stock immediately and trying to hit 18 stock as soon as I can. The moment I hit 18 stock, if my opponent's at level 2 or something, I just go for the lethal because 18 stock can kill anywhere from 2-0 to 2-3 very comfortably. Against standby matchups where I'm going to lose board constantly, sometimes I'll go back to 1-in-1 of Chifuyu Baji just to replenish hand. So in this deck, hand is the most important thing. You always want to be at max hand size, and then stock is the secondary most important thing, because with max hand size, with the Takemichi, you can also boost yourself up to higher stock values, but you can't use stock to boost your hand up as easily as you could the other way around. And now let's look at some of the combos you can do with this deck. So the first combo we're going to be showing off is the full 18 stock full hand combo. This is the maximum damage potential that this deck can do. And just to show you guys, so here's 18 stock, and I've seeded it to be relatively clean, but as you can see, we put a climax in there. There's the Mikey on the 5th, and we do have a few soul triggers that wind up in your stock, but generally speaking, since you're using the Chifuyu to stock from waiting room, you're going to be putting clean cards into your stock that are without soul triggers. And also the deck is primarily non-soul triggers at the beginning. Only until the end of the game does our deck become very compressed with a lot of cards with soul triggers. So just to show that I haven't seen the deck, I'm going to give it a few shuffles, and we're going to pretend to draw for a turn. I also have the Mitsuya and the waiting room just to show how this deck doesn't even need to have the full perfect combo hand in hand, and how the Mitsuya can really help with getting the pieces that we need. So we're going to draw for a turn. And wow, we draw a Mikey, which is really good. And no matter what we do here, we always clock because we need 9 cards in hand. So we'll clock, draw 2, draw clean cards here. That's actually amazing. And we're going to start off with one copy of the Mitsuya. Play the Mitsuya, pay 2. And then we mill 2 cards here, burning equal to the total amount of soul triggers milled. So burn 1 plus 1, just plus 0, just burn 1, which is not bad. We can play another copy of the Mitsuya from hand, pay 2, mill 2, burn 2 plus 0. So burn 2, burn 1, burn 2 so far, pretty good. Now we actually have enough stock to play a third Mitsuya, but if we don't have it in hand, we can use the onboard Mitsuya effect, tap 2, discard a card from our hand to clone the Mitsuya from waiting room since we have another copy. So if you mill a Mitsuya from the effects of the Mitsuya, then you can clone into it. It's like super nice. So we'll play it here, pay 2, mill 2 more, so burn 0, burn 0. So sometimes this will happen, you'll burn 0, but generally speaking, if your deck is really compressed, you'll be able to burn a decent amount. At this point, these are just like free burns on top of what you will normally get with the full combo. And the good thing about this is that sometimes you're like, this case we just refreshed because we're just demonstrating on a clean deck, but a lot of times you'll actually be down to like a few cards in deck, and you'll know a lot better like what climax is and what you have left in the deck. So but yeah, burn 1, burn 2 is not bad. You know, we will take it. It's free burns. And at this point, we now start playing the Mikey. So Mikey is better than Mitsuya in my opinion, just because it's a guaranteed burn 1. So we don't have to rely on the RNG. Now here, the card that you marker, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. So in this case, it doesn't matter because we still have plenty of deck left. But if you have only a few cards left in deck, then what you marker with the Mikey actually does matter because it's going to go to the bottom of the deck and you will potentially be able to trigger it. So let's say you have like 1 or 2 cards left in deck, then whatever you put on the bottom will be cards that you can trigger. So you can put a soul trigger on the bottom to guarantee a soul trigger, or you can put a clean card on the bottom to guarantee a clean card. But in this case, it doesn't really matter, so we're just going to put this underneath. And in this case, if we have another Mikey in hand, that's great. Otherwise, if we milled a Mikey, we can also tap like these two characters to dupe the Mikey from waiting room. So there's just a lot of ways to get it. So anyways, we're going to play the second Mikey over here. Just to shortcut it, I'll add this as the marker. And then finally, we will play the Baji from our hand to the last slot. And then this one will be pay 2, and then we'll pay an additional one to salvage the Pants Trigger. Now, generally speaking, we'll be able to get the Pants Trigger in the waiting room from the Mitsuya mills. If not, there's other ways just to mill through the deck. You'll have to like maybe give up a Mitsuya a burn or something just to get the climax into waiting room. Like the brainstorm is a really great way to do it, since it's really easy to hit when we're so compressed, and then the top check 3 mills a lot more. And in this case, as you can see, we have 5 cards left in our stock, which is perfect for the full combo. We can play the climax, then attack with the Mikeys first. The markers go to the bottom. That's a burn 1. We'll trigger here. We can choose to add off of the pants, front here or side. So if you're playing around like rest counter or memory counter, then you can just side here. And since our deck is so compressed, even if we side, let's say we side here, this was not a soul trigger, but if we hit a soul trigger or a 2 soul trigger, we're still doing good damage. So then we have that one. Then we attack with this one, trigger on that, and then we do the combo. So you pay 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. And since this Mikey is going to get summoned out, I'm just going to leave it over here. Discard 3 cards from our hand. And if you have the Mikey in hand and not in stock, you can always just discard it from hand to summon it out as well. Sack the climax. All the cards go underneath the Baji as markers, and it has to go underneath the same position that Baji was on. So you can only summon the Mikey to a position that Baji was on originally. And so because of that, you want to make sure you're summoning this across a lane that you can either front or direct for. Like for example, like sometimes it's actually a good idea to summon this on a lane where you get a direct attack, and since you don't have the climax anymore, this is only going to swing for 2. So if you have a direct attack, it could swing for 3. Otherwise, sometimes if your opponent is like really close to dead, you might want to put the Baji in front of like a level 1, so that after you summon the Mikey, you can actually side here for 1 and burn 1 5 times. So you attack here, all the cards go to the bottom of your deck as clean markers. You can choose the order, but in this case, it doesn't really matter. And then you get 5 burn 1s and then the last trigger. So that's the full 18 stock combo. We did burn 1, burn 2. We missed the burn here, but we could have burned there. And then burn 1, attack with the Baji, and then burn 1 5 times and attack with the Mikey. So that altogether, well, how much was that? That's basically 21 damage in like 11 instances or something like that, something ridiculous. So really cool combo. That's what you get when you have all 18 stock. Now, what if we don't have 18 stock? Sometimes, the game doesn't go well and we are stuck with less stock than we want to be. So in this case, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stock at level 3, which is, basically a turn's worth of stock behind what we originally set out for as our goal. And with 12 stock, we can only really do Baji, Mikey, and we can't play any Mitsuyas normally. However, if we have the Takemichi, a Revenge Takemichi in our hand, we can actually extend this combo a little bit more. So we're going to draw for turn. We're going to clock anything we want. Let's clock this Treasure Baji, draw 2 more cards. And using the Takemichi, we're going to play the Takemichi, and we're going to clock ourselves and use the effect to stock boost. Now, obviously, if we're, almost dead, then we can't do this, but we can actually even do this at level 2 to boost ourselves up to, level 3, and then we can play over it with the other Mitsuya, with the other Takemichi in our hand, clock ourselves, stock boost up, and now we're at 14 stock, which gives us the ability to play 1 Mitsuya. And of course, if we don't have both Takemichis in our hand, but we do have one in the waiting room, we can play one and then use the Mitsuya to clone the Takemichi to play it again. So now, because of that, we're at 14 stock, we can play the Mitsuya from our hand. So pay 2, mill 2. In this case, we missed, but again, that's an option to get an additional burn. And then we can play the Mikey, and then I guess this goes underneath as a marker. Play the second Mikey. This goes underneath as a marker, and then play the Baji. And in this case, we don't have the climax, so obviously I would try to find a way to get the climax. But you play the Baji, pay 2, and then pay 1, and let's say we pretend salvage. We salvage the climax. Let's pretend it's the right climax, and now we have the full combo still, right? We have 5 stock, Mikey Baji with the climax and enough hand to discard. But using the Takemichi, we were able to boost ourselves into basically a free Mitsuya mill burn. So at the chance of increasing our combo potential. So if you're off by like 1 or 2 stock, the Takemichi that can stock boost basically allows you to get to like the next threshold of burn and finishing power, which is really, really useful for this deck because, you know, we don't always have the perfect game, but even if we have slightly off the mark, we can still get there. Now, if you have 17 stock, unfortunately, you can't boost up to 18 because 18 stock combo requires your full hand. But if it's anything less than 16 stock, then you can use the Takemichis to boost and, you know, just count how many cards in hand you need and how many Takemichis you basically have to boost with. You just have to like do the math, right? So basically, in order to do the full combo, you have 3 extra cards in your hand afterwards. So with the full hand, we have 3 extra cards. We can play 3 Mitsuyas, but if we can't play 3 Mitsuyas, then for every Mitsuya we can't play, that gives us an extra card to work with and do other stuff. Of course, you can also brainstorm. Let's say you're at like 17 stock and you brainstorm, and if you hit like 3 or something, then yeah, you can use the Takemichis to stock boost you up all the way back to 18 and you still have enough hand or something like that. So yeah, just kind of play through your outs based on your stock and kind of what you have in the hand. Now, what happens if for some reason you can't do the Baji combo? Like maybe you stocked all your Bajis or you lost all your Baji climaxes, or for some reason in the matchup it's just not a good idea, like your opponent is playing like Memory Snow and you can't burn 1 or something like that. I don't know. For whatever reason, if you can't do Baji, there is a plan B with the deck, and that involves looping the Mitsuya combo. And it's not as consistent as Baji because Baji and Mikey burn 1 consistently, and Mitsuya, it really depends on RNG, but it still is pretty effective at just finishing your opponent from afar away, and is definitely a good plan B if it comes to that, right? Our deck just only knows how to finish our opponent, so, you know, whatever it takes to kill our opponent, that's what this deck is meant to do. So for that, we would need 3 copies of the Mitsuya at least, and ideally the Mitsuya climax as well, although that is not 100% necessary. And if we have the 4th copy of the Mitsuya, then we don't need the Baji and we don't need the extra stock. So it's 14 stock if you have all 4 copies of Mitsuya. However, usually this is more likely to be happening. So like 3 Mitsuyas and 1 Mitsuya in the waiting room or in the deck. And in which case we need an extra stock and a Baji in order to do the full combo. So let's just give our deck a quick shuffle to make sure that it's completely random with the mills, and let us begin the combo. So as with all our combos, we are going to start off by drawing for turn, and we're going to clock and draw 2. Always need to clock and draw 2 here. Ooh, that's not going to be good for our mills, but that's okay. We're going to open up with one of our Mitsuyas. We're going to pay 2 for that and mill 2. We're going to move the Mitsuya down here because we're going to be looping this quite a lot. We mill 3 soul triggers. That's very, very lucky. And at this point, we're going to tap the Mitsuya and a character on our board. Discard probably one of the climaxes that we don't need, and we're going to clone the Mitsuya here. And now we're going to play the Mitsuya, and then we need to play the Mitsuya over the Mitsuya, so we get the Mitsuya back into our waiting room. Pay 2 for this one. And mill 2 here. Burn 1. Not bad, not bad. And we're going to use the other back row to clone the Mitsuya here. So we're going to discard this, clone the Mitsuya again. And as always, we're going to be playing over our Mitsuya, our rested Mitsuya, to send it to the waiting room every single time. So we're going to mill 2 for this Mitsuya. Oh, that was how many Mitsuya? So 1, 2, this will be our 3rd Mitsuya. Let's use this dice to keep track. Our 3rd Mitsuya, burn 2, mill 2, burn 1. Okay, pretty good. Burn 3, burn 1, burn 1. Very, very lucky so far. And now for the 4th Mitsuya clone, we're actually going to use the Baji here to help us out because we're missing 1 hand to get to 7. So we're going to tap these 2, discard a card from our hand, clone the Mitsuya, and then we're going to use our extra stock to pop the Baji and look at the top. So we can't add that. Oh, unfortunate. Oh, we can't add that either. Let's just mill all the way. Oh, we can add the Mikey here. And so now we have an extra card in our hand to clone the last Mitsuya that we need. So we're gonna play another Mitsuya. So this will be our 4th Mitsuya. Counter this up to 4. Pay 2 for this one. Mill 2. 0 and 1. Wow, we still burn 1. That's very impressive. And at this point, we can, play this Mitsuya, and then we can tap. So if we have the climax, then we're gonna clone the Mitsuya again to get triple Mitsuya. But if we don't have, let's say we don't have the climax, at this point you would just play the Mikey if you want to use the burn one. Like let's say at this point we don't think there's a lot of soul triggers left in our deck, we can play the Mikey and then clone the Mikey to get guaranteed burn ones. But in this case, I'm gonna do the full Mitsuya combo. We're gonna tap these two, discard the Mikey to clone the Mitsuya for the last time, and now we have 3 Mitsuya in our hand with the climax, and we've already done 4 Mitsuya, so let's do the 5th one. So rack this up to 5, mill 2, burn nothing, as expected, because I think we burned out basically everything in our deck. We're gonna play over this, mill 2, burn nothing, yep, and then play over this one. The last 2 cards in our stock, mill 2 and burn 2. Wow, we still got a burn 2 at the end. So that's 6 and then 7 Mitsuyas, and we have the climax combo that we can play. So this split soul, and we can use the Emma effect, and then these Mitsuyas all on attack can top deck a card from our opponent's waiting room. Of course, there's definitely gonna be a lot of cards in our opponent's waiting room at this point, since we've just burned so many cards over the course of our 7 Mitsuyas. So this is another way that this deck can utilize all the stock it gets. By just looping Mitsuyas, and with the Mitsuya back row is actually really easy to loop. So this is the 7 Mitsuya burn combo with or without climax. If you have the climax, then obviously end on this board. If you don't have the climax, then you can choose to end on some Mikeys and use the Mitsuya to dupe the Mikeys to get additional burn ones on attack. The last thing I want to show off with this deck is going to be some early game tactics. So these are some minor small combos that we can do with this deck that really makes this deck really fun and interesting. So one thing we can do is, if we don't open a really good turn 1 play and we have both the brainstorm and the Mitsuya, we can front row the brainstorm and have the Mitsuya in the back row. We can attack with the brainstorm, and then on our opponent's turn we can discard any card we want from our hand, marker the brainstorm, and then to save it, and then we can put the brainstorm back out, and then we can move it to the back row if we want to. This is also a really good technique we can do to deny reverses. Let's say we want a tri-field. Let's say we have like a tri-field of like these 3 cards, and this Baji is going to go to memory because we saved it the previous turn. By doing something like this, we can send this Baji to memory, and then we can save the Emma. We only give 1 reverse target, and then the following turn the Emma comes out and we can move it to the back row. So that's a really fun thing we can do. The second tactic that we can do once we're on dual laners, obviously I think this one's pretty obvious. We can play the Baji, tap the Baji and the Mitsuya to clone the Baji, and then use the Baji effect to pop it. Look at 4 by paying 1, look at 4. So that's just a great way to get extra mill in our deck from just using the Baji and cloning it. Just gives us more on-demand mill. The second really cool thing that you can do is, let's say our opponent has like 3 cards on their side of the field that are all like level 0s. Maybe like they play the climax, they sided, they have three cards, and you really want to get rid of like their opponent's entire board. It's like a good opportunity. You can actually play a card like this Mikey. The Mikey is a really good card to play because it gets a lot of power. So it's gonna be 6/5, and we're gonna try lane just for a little bit. So try lane here if all the lanes win. So let's say we like reverse level 0, reverse level 0, reverse level 0, and then at the start of our opponent's attack step, we can discard a card from our hand. We can save the Mikey, right? Or we can save, like, let's say we can save one of the, like the Baji or something like that. And then by doing, like, let's say if we save the Mikey, since we remove the attacker from our front row, these will all of a sudden get boosted to 7k power, which is really formidable. So like if your opponent wasn't expecting it, it's like, oh no, now these are 7k. Or like something like this, we can, like, let's say we can save the Chifuyu here. And then if they choose to, let's say they choose to like front the Baji, and then they want to like deny us, they can, like, if they like keep this alive, when we summon the Chifuyu back, we can actually summon it over the Mikey, and then we're back to dual lanes, right? So yeah, there's like a lot of these really cool interactions we can do with the Mitsuya to like marker stuff and save stuff, and that our dual laners take full advantage of, because we basically always play around an empty board spot on, or empty spot on the board. And that's it for this combo video. If you're looking for the deck profile, it is on the Tresses Collectibles main channel. I'll go through all the card choices there. This one was just mostly to show off some of the combos of the deck, just in case people weren't exactly sure what they were aiming for or how to pilot the deck. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments section below, and I'll try to do my best to respond. And yeah, just thank you so much for watching, and hope you guys get to try out this really awesome, really cool deck. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.